Just the word. The extended version.
All right. Shalom, family, and thank you for tuning in into this 31st edition of Soul Food entitled Let My People Go. I'm going to begin reading in the book of Jasher, chapter 79, verse 1. And in those days Moshe was feeding the flock of Reuel the Midianite, his father-in-law, beyond the wilderness of Sin. And the stick which he took from his father-in-law was in his hand. And it came to pass one day that a kid of goats strayed from the flock, and Moshe pursued it. And it came to the mountain of the El to Horeb. And when he came to Horeb, Master Yah appeared there unto him in the bush. And he found the bush burning fire, but the fire had no power over the bush to consume it. And Moshe was greatly astonished at this sight, wherefore the bush was not consumed. And he approached to see this mighty thing, and the master called unto Moshe out of the fire, and commanded him to go down to Egypt, to Pharaoh king of Egypt, to send the children of Israel from his service. And the master said unto Moshe, Go, return to Egypt, for all those men who sought thy life are dead. And thou shalt speak unto Pharaoh to send forth the children of Israel from his land. And Yah showed him to do signs and wonders in Egypt before the eyes of Pharaoh and the eyes of his subjects, in order that they might believe that the Master Yah had sent him. I'm going to skip over to Jasher chapter 80, verse 1. And at the end of 2 years, the Master Yah again sent Moshe to Pharaoh to bring forth the children of Israel and to send them out of the land of Egypt. And Moshe went and came to the house of Pharaoh, and he spoke to him the words of Yah, who had sent him. But Pharaoh would not hearken to the voice of Yah, and El roused his might in Egypt upon Pharaoh and his subject. And Yah smote Pharaoh and his people with very great and sore plagues. And Yah sent by the hand of Aaron, and turned all the waters of Egypt into blood, with all their streams and rivers. And when an Egyptian came to drink and draw water, he looked into his pitcher, and behold, all the water was turned into blood. And when he came to drink from his cup, the water in the cup became blood. And when a woman kneaded her dough and cooked her victuals, their appearance was turned to that of blood. And Yah sent again, and caused all their waters to bring forth frogs. And all the frogs came into the house of the Egyptians, and when the Egyptians drank, their bellies were filled with frogs. And they danced in their bellies, as they danced when in the river. And all their drinking water and cooking water turned to frogs. Also when they lay in their beds, their perspiration bred frogs. Notwithstanding all this, the anger of Yah did not turn from them, and his hand was stretched out against all the Egyptians to smite them with every heavy plague. And he sent and smote their dust to lice, and the lice became in Egypt to the height of 2 cubits upon the earth. The lice were also very numerous in the flesh of man and beast, and all the inhabitants of Egypt. Also upon the king and the queen, Yah sent the lice, and it grieved Egypt exceedingly on account of the lice. Notwithstanding this, the anger of Yah did not turn away, and his hand was still stretched out over Egypt. And Yah sent all kinds of beasts of the field into Egypt, and they came and destroyed all Egypt, man, beast, and trees, and all things that were in Egypt. And Yah sent fiery serpents, scorpions, mice, weasels, toads, together with others creeping in dust, flies, hornets, fleas, bugs, gnats, each swarm according to its kind. And all reptiles and winged animals according to their kind came to Egypt, and grieved the Egyptians exceedingly. And the flies and the fleas came into the eyes and the ears of the Egyptians, and the hornet came upon them and drove them away, and they removed from it into their inner rooms and pursued them. And when the Egyptians hid themselves on account of the swarm of animals, they locked their doors after them. And Yah ordered that Sulanuth, which was in the sea, to come up and go into Egypt. Ooh. And she had long arms, 10 cubits in length of the cubit of a man. And she went upon the roofs and uncovered the raftering and flooring and cut them, and stretched forth her arm into the house and removed the lock in the bolt and opened the houses of Egypt. Afterward came the swarm of animals into the houses of Egypt, and the swarm of animals destroyed the Egyptians, and it grieved them exceedingly. Notwithstanding this, the anger of Yah did not turn away from the Egyptians, and his hand was stretched yet forth against them. And Yah sent the pestilence, and the pestilence persuaded Egypt in the horses and asses, and in the camels and herds of oxen and sheep, and in man. And when the Egyptians rose up early in the morning to take their cattle to pasture, they found all their cattle dead. And there remained of the cattle of the Egyptians only 1 in 10, and of the cattle belonging to Israel in Goshen not one died. Praise Yah through Yahshua. And Yah sent a burning inflammation in the flesh of the Egyptians, which burst their skins, and it became a severe itch in all the Egyptians from the soles of their feet to the crowns of their heads. And many boils were in their flesh, that their flesh was wasted away until they became rotten and putrid. Notwithstanding this, the anger of Yah did not turn away, and his hands was still stretched out over all Egypt. And Yah sent a very heavy hail, which smote their vines and broke their fruit trees and dried them up, and that they fell upon them. Also every green herb became dry and perished, for a mingled fire descended against the hail. Therefore the hail and the fire consumed all things. Also men and beasts that were found abroad perished of the flames of fire and of the hail, and all the young lions were exhausted. And Yah sent and brought numerous locusts into Egypt, the Chazal, Solam, Chargal, and the Chargoli, locusts each of its kind, which devoured all that the hail had left remaining. And the Egyptians rejoiced at the locusts, although they consumed the produce of the field, and they caught them in abundance and salted them for food. And Yah turned a mighty wind of the sea, which took away all the locusts, even those that were salted, and thrust them into the reed sea. Not one locust remained within the boundaries of Egypt. And Yah sent darkness upon Egypt, that the whole land of Egypt and Pathros became dark for 3 days, so that no man could see his hand when he lifted it to his mouth. And at that time died many of the people of Israel who had rebelled against Yah, and who would not hearken to Moshe and Aaron, and believed not in them that Yah had sent them. Verse 38, and who had said, we will not go forth from Egypt, lest we perish with hunger in a desolate wilderness, and who would not hearken to the voice of Moshe, and Yah plagued them in the 3 days of darkness, and the Israelites buried them in those days without the Egyptians knowing of them or rejoicing over them. And the darkness was very great in Egypt for 3 days. And any person who was standing when the darkness came remained standing in his place, and he that was sitting remained sitting, and he that was lying continued lying in the same state, he that was walking remained sitting upon the ground in the same spot. And this thing happened to all the Egyptians until the darkness had passed away. And all the days and the days of darkness passed away, and Yah sent Moshe and Aaron to the children of Israel, saying, celebrate your feast and make your Passover. For behold, I come in the midst of the night amongst all the Egyptians, and I will smite all their firstborn, from the firstborn of a man to the firstborn of a beast. And when I see your Passover, I will pass over you. And the children of Israel did according to all that Yah had commanded Moshe and Aaron. Thus they did in that night. Family, our Father who art in heaven, it is a fearful thing to fall in his hands when he is angry. It is a fearful thing to fall in his hands when he is angry. I want to read that scripture. which can be found in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 31. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living, Yah.